Hello, Sean. How you doing?
What up, Mikey?
What do you know?
Man, it's getting hard out there. Anyway,
The world's full of bad things. Bad things happen to good people,
bad
and
things happen to good people.
good things happen to bad people too.
Sometimes.
It rains on the just and the unjust alike, is what the Bible says.
Well, I can sit there and say, at one point I could say I was a bad person and I live a pretty good life today. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know how you want to spin that, but,
Eh,
it's that undeserving feeling that, I think pushes me, motivates me.
I think it's a change in mindset.
Oh,
We've
absolutely.
talked about that before.
Yeah.
Where your mindset's different,
Yeah.
um, which is good.
Absolutely.
And surrounding yourself with good people. That's why treatment is important. And so
Yes, it is.
today, let's jump right in.
All right.
What led you to finally seek treatment?
So after my fentanyl overdose in 2021, I was experiencing liver failure, and I had a bunch of internal bleeding. And during that time, I got very, very sick, and I was homeless. Um, and if I could track it to like a pivotal moment, I was walking out of a 7-Eleven on Lovers Lane in Dallas, Texas, and I was walking out of a this
And
7-Eleven.
anybody who's ever been there knows exactly where you're talking about
Yeah,
too.
Lovers Lane and Northwest Highway. You know, I was walking out and I was drinking a Red Bull, and a guy came up and pistol whipped me 4 times. Um, Knocked out 4 of my teeth on the bottom row, and he tried to shoot me. I ran back into the store. I was able to get the gun loose long enough to where I could scramble back into the store, and I had locked myself in the bathroom and pulled my knife out. I was like, "Well, if he's coming in the bathroom, it's going to be a throwdown." And he didn't. The store clerk was all crazy telling me to get out of the store, and I'm like, bro, I'm not leaving. You can call the cops. I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna walk outside and get shot. You can like go somewhere with that. So I ended up leaving out the back of the store. I went out the emergency exit, and I got down to the train station and Lovers Lane train station down in Dallas, and that was when it finally hit me that I couldn't take care of myself anymore. My body was just too weak. The guy who actually hit me with the pistol um, was somebody I should have handled no problem. Truthfully and honestly, like no problem. And when I couldn't, that was the realization that something really needed to change.
Well, I know we've talked about this in the past. A lot of people are afraid of treatment.
Terrifying.
So what were your first thoughts and emotions? Not necessarily the hospital time, because I know you spent some time in the hospital. When
Right.
you actually went to the treatment facility, what were the first things that kind of ran through your mind?
Well, so first I went to Oxford House, which is kind of like a self-governing house. It's a sober living community where everybody holds themselves accountable. You know what I mean? Holds each other accountable, and you go to meetings and you pay your part of the rent and all those bills. That didn't work out really well for me because I couldn't take care of myself. My dad was helping me out paying the rent. I couldn't work. I couldn't attend outside meetings. And on top of that, I was a heroin addict, and I was the only heroin addict in the house. And so I got pretty much judged right off the rip. And so I ended up coming home to Amarillo, and I walked into another Chance house. Um, After being here for about 3 months, I was put on a waiting list, and I walked into another Chance house. And by this time, my health had deteriorated dramatically. And when the first time I walked in there, I looked around. After walking through the front door, I looked around, and I was like, "Yep, this is where I'm gonna die." Like that was
Yeah,
just the truth. I mean, that was the first thought that came to my mind. I was looking. It's an old rundown home that they retrofitted into a men's shelter,
yeah.
slash treatment facility. And yeah, I looked around. And I was like, this is it. This is where I'm gonna. This is where I'm gonna pass away at.
What when did that change for you once you were in there? Was it 4 to 6 weeks? Was it 2 or 3 days? Like I know that that tension and emotional kind of turmoil in a new environment. How long did that last?
It was about 8 weeks, almost to the day. Um, the treatment really didn't start. Well, let me start this off. The facility people, the caretakers there were amazing. They had me on 24-hour watch for I think the first 6 weeks, where somebody sat with me 24 hours a day and made sure I was still breathing.
So is that really like the detox process? That's what you're really.
I
That's that time period
Yeah,
where.
I had a very abnormal detox period. Most detoxes are like 9 to 14 days. Mine was almost a solid year because of my health complications. My body wasn't producing healthy blood. My liver kept giving out. I caught Crohn's disease, cirrhosis of the liver, and so it was one ailment fighting another ailment, and it was just I was constantly sick. I got to the point where I couldn't walk, couldn't leave the bedroom. I'd just lay in bed and I would stare at the ceiling fan and constantly, ask myself, why did I get sober? To just be decrepit and can't do anything. It was kind of a demoralizing period, that first 8 weeks.
So in that environment, what was the overall atmosphere like? Structure. You have a morning routine, a daily routine. Because I know in your addiction you had a routine.
Right,
Your first thing out of the day was like, I got to get my fix.
right.
But how was it in treatment? Did they provide you a structure, or did you have to develop your own with their help?
So they kind of tailor fitted it to me, right? Because when I got there, they had never dealt with anybody with a severe heroin addiction like mine. Um, so we're typically
And the physical ailments that went
in the
along with that,
physical
right?
problem. So to actually be in that facility, you had to be self-sustainable. I was not self-sustainable, and so the fact that they even let me through the doors was inspirational to me. I caught that instantly because literally everywhere else in town told me no, not doing it, not having it. He's gonna die. And when they let me in, that said a lot. And the staff there showed love every single day. Now I still had to follow rules, right? So 6 a.m. you got to get up and out of bed. Now I would be up at 6 a.m. and they worked with me on this because a lot of times you had to be out looking for a job or you had to be in recovery meetings or outside doing something, right? I couldn't walk, so if I made it to the couch, they were okay with that.
Right.
If I was able to get from the bed to the couch, and a lot of that time I would just spend reading. I still had to go to recovery meetings, so they would help me to my meetings and help me back. Um, but they were very supportive, extremely supportive.
So in that adjustment to that, what was the toughest part of adjusting to the structure, having to be in those meetings and having the issues you had? Because everybody's reactions are going to be a little different, but you have a very unique perspective because of the physical ailments. You needed a little extra, got that extra help.
Yeah.
How did that affect you personally?
Like going to the meetings and stuff, it didn't absorb for a very long time.
Sure.
I mean, it took about a year till I even started participating and actually going through the steps when it came to meetings. It was that unconditional love model that they presented that kept me sober. I was in a world of a lot of fear. I didn't know if I was going to live. There was that constant weight over my head of going to sleep and not waking up. So there was that. There was not knowing what to do with my life going forward if I didn't die. And being in such a weakened state, I didn't know what kind of quality of life I was going to have being sober. I questioned it a lot.
So with that supportive staff, how about peers? How did peers in recovery and treatment? How did they impact your stay in treatment?
Huge, huge. And I say this going to just about any recovery group I go to, man. What's almost more important than the program is the people you're in there with. I look back at that same program today and it said, could I do it today? And I'm like, I don't know, right? Because people weren't on the same level that they were when I was in.
Sure.
I got some good resource help. from some people in there who knew some avenues to go down that I didn't, and they mentioned it, and I'm like, okay, like college, for instance. Um,
It's not like we were best friends, but you work with somebody for years,
I
get to
get it.
know him when they're just starting out. I
Yeah,
knew him before he was popular. Um, he was a stand-up solid dude.
yeah,
It's kind of like addiction.
bro. Uh,
You've seen it.
I've said goodbye to a lot of friends.
Well, this is a great segue into mental and emotional.
Man, you know
We've all lost people. Not it doesn't have to be from addiction, gun violence.
anything.
Example, right? Friend Charlie today. Um, it's one of those things where you have to become the best version of yourself, and there's challenges. So, what were the big emotional challenges, not physical, but emotional challenges that you faced during treatment? Was it self realization that part of this is because of things I lacked as a kid or things I lacked as an adult, or was it just a not understanding on how to treat yourself? Like some people just don't know the unconditional love model that
Yeah.
and so they don't love themselves. You're the void a lot of us use addictive behaviors to fill really about us. It's an individual path for everybody. So it varies. But what did you discover emotionally about yourself?
So I think what hit me at first in treatment was loneliness. It's because you don't know anybody, right? You don't know anybody, any of the people that you're in there with, right? So I'm in a room full of a bunch of people. I'm dying, literally in front of a bunch of strangers. So that in itself is kind of demoralizing. Um, but again, that very supportive model helped out. Um, I think what affected me the most was not knowing how people were going to see me in my sobriety. And that's still a big issue, right? Is when we step into sobriety, when we start wanting to do good things with our lives, is the world going to allow me to? And that's a big question that
No,
we ask ourselves. Like, and I think just about anyone who's in treatment asks themselves that: what is the world going to think of me when I step out of here?
really goes back to how you see yourself,
Right.
your self worth.
Yeah.
So, how knowing you're in there and working to get better, getting past trauma you've inflicted on yourself. I mean,
Right.
it's great to be able to look back now and go, I was in 87
Bro.
or 35,
Yeah.
like, and then there's a hope that you get when you start working on yourself.
Right.
So, what do you think the biggest boost to your self worth? That hope that things can get.
Honestly and truthfully, college, man.
That's an
College,
interesting. It's an interesting. Everybody's
college,
different.
college influenced that my growth probably better than anything. I think and well, I'm gonna speak for myself, right? To me, overcoming addiction is overcoming the barriers in life, right? And so when I was sitting outside in treatment, like I cut the world off for a whole entire year. I mean, I sat outside by myself, stared at cars driving crap down the street, didn't really associate with a whole lot, did a whole lot of self reflecting, right? And I knew that once I was able to get into the work field, if I didn't do something that I was happy doing or something that I felt fulfilled in doing, that I would go back out. Like, typically we put people in treatment, we say go get a job, I don't care what it is. Whether it's McDonald's, Subway, whatever, do it, right? I knew just me being me, if I do something like that, I'm going to go back out.
Well, how. So that leads me to like skills you learned to cope with those triggers.
Right. So
So what
so
what is something that
college.
really was so it wasn't just college. Treatment gave you, right?
Yeah, so they put us through life skills. We did life skills, and of course, you do your 12-step meetings and things like that. Um, one of the biggest influences was my mentor, who was the LCDC on the campus. Like I said, I didn't go anywhere for the first year, so I sat in his office, bro, and just picked his brain
I think
apart.
that's awesome.
I picked his brain apart almost all day, every day. I'd be in his office 3, 4 times a day, just tearing it up, and uh, knowing what he did for me, right? I would go sit in his office, and he'd had his plaques up on the wall from his bachelor's degree and his master's degree and all these things. And when he told me his story about where he came from, uh, it let me know that I had a chance, right? So and I would sit in his office, and I'd always be like, "Hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? One of these days, I'm gonna have a wall like that with all my achievements, just like that." And that was something we would laugh about, and I started working towards. Um, but college, man, college did a great thing, and it wasn't just for the education. It put me in a community of people trying to elevate themselves. Right? It was a sober community. It was a community where everybody's learning. Everybody's kind of got their own goals, but the same ambition, right, to accomplish those goals. And everybody's working together. So and it gave me a sense of community to be a part of something during that time. Another great tool that they gave me while I was in treatment is they asked me to start speaking for charity events and fundraisers for their organization. And I was shaky at first because they're like, "All right, bro, you're gonna get up on stage and you're gonna tell your story." And I was like, "Who's gonna want to hear my story?" But we got up there and I spoke. The very first event I did was the 100 Man Who Give a Damn, and it's where 100 people show up and they all donate $1,000, and it's kind of like a competition between three organizations. Three people get up, tell their testimonies, and they vote on who gets the money. And I got up there and told my story, and we won, right? But it wasn't winning the money that was the cool part. It was the people who came up to me in tears and cared. You know what I'm saying? Like gave me a hug and was like, "We're proud of you," and they were complete strangers.
Well, and that helps your mental growth
It
and
did.
your
It
emotional
really
growth
did. It really
because
did.
then you see people do really, really do truly care. People do really true see addicts.
They do. It's
And that's the problem I think the society has today. Sorry, I'm taking thing
no,
is
you're good.
we don't see one another as human beings sometimes. It's fodder for the next story. It's fodder for the next. Uh, maybe some people use the bad things that happen. Being an addict is a bad thing that happened to somebody. Once you've grown out of that and you doing the work on yourself to get out of treatment
Yeah.
and go out and live a normal life, then you're hammered again by all the other crap.
Well, there's like this weird anonymity shroud around addiction and recovery. So, and I see this even today, right? So you get these support groups and people who are, wanting to do things in the community, but they do it behind closed doors. It's in very like quiet,
Well,
on the down low
yeah,
format. Like
yeah.
I don't want everybody to know I'm supporting this movement. You know what I mean? It's just really weird to me why people aren't more expressive and more engaged in the public when it comes to community service in the addiction community.
Well, and that's where I was kind of leading with where I'm going to question is outside of treatment, back in the real world, trying to live your life again. What's the most valuable lesson from treatment that you took with you, recovery, taking with you as you go back to live
Um, I think one of the unconditional love concept was one that I took with me, but it was really the social network that I was able to build. Right? It was the support system that I was able to build that kept me sober. Right? And I'm a firm believer. Like willingness only gets a person so far. Right? It's up to the community to make the environment conducive, as much as it is up to the addict to keep himself in a community that's conducive. Right?
life. So that leads me again. I'm kind of correcting this here, but with the way people react and support the addiction recovery community behind closed doors, is there anything coming out of that world, treatment and recovery world, into a normal life that really weren't given a heads up about it. What is the hardest part? What is the hardest part about living a normal life that you didn't
See?
get to go back into the going back? I'm going to ask you the question as it's freaking written. What's the hardest part about transitioning back into the outside?
I think that's a two-part thing, right?
It is, and that's kind of where I was having trouble with the question.
So for me, the biggest part was stepping back into that lonely state, right? Because when we're in treatment, we have support, we have guidance, we have a structured environment, we have all the things we need, right, to set a foundation. But then when we leave treatment, we're right back to where we started, and so it's a overwhelming flood of those old emotions that come back, right, and it comes back all at once, right, and I was a classic example. I left treatment, instantly relapsed because I stepped right back out into not having a support system. So I was by myself all over again, and I didn't realize how important that support system really is. You know what I'm saying? When I step back out, because life is unforgiving at times, right? And like you just got to learn how to take a punch. But it's really important too that you know what I'm saying. Like if I'm taking a punch by myself or getting beat on by myself, I'm liable to fall. It's one thing to have a support system for somebody to help catch you, right? So you take a slip and it doesn't have to be a full blown relapse. Or, you know what I'm saying? Life locks you down, but somebody's there to help pick you back up, be that support system for you. I didn't have that when I left treatment. And but you know, now today, that's huge. Like I stay in a support system where I'm around good people who can help guide me in the ways I need to go. And I've set firm boundaries on things I don't do anymore. You know, I won't even put myself in those environments anymore. Reach out to those old friends, like so that. And then the second thing that was hard to deal with coming out of treatment is telling everybody I was in treatment, right? Because people always look at an addict as an addict, and in general society, right? People who are in a recovery setting, they let you step into it, but typical Joe Schmo on the street, when you tell them, "Hey, man, I was a heroin addict for 25 years," how do you feel about that? You know what I mean? It's a tough conversation.
It is a tough conversation, but
You
then
know?
then you meet people like me who are normal,
Right,
and
right.
and I want to smack those people
And
who
it's
treat
tough.
you that way.
It's tough.
Like, where is your grace,
Yeah.
your love for your fellow man? You're not showing that, and to me, that's like I look at some of the questions that we go back and forth about for doing the show.
Yeah.
Looking back, what advice would you give someone just entering treatment? I could answer that. When you're done with your treatment, don't expect people to treat you differently. That's what I would tell them. I would
And
give them a
don't.
heads up that, hey, yes, there are good people who are going to give you that second, third, 15th chance.
Yeah.
But there's also people like me who are going to hold you accountable in a different way than you're used to. But we're not gonna chastise you if you relapse. If you relapse tomorrow, I would not differently. I'd beat your butt. Right, you know that. You know that for sure. You and
Yeah.
I would be
Yeah.
knocking you around a little
Yeah.
bit, but that's because I care enough about you and want to see that change in you become long term. And I have faith that you struggle with it, relapsing and things like that happen.
Yeah.
I can't judge you for a relapse in the same way as making a choice to do something else that was detrimental to yourself, right?
And
Like,
part of that is like, so in recovery programs, you know, the first step is acceptance, right? Where we step into our everything that we've done wrong in life, and we come to terms with it. We learn to live in truth, right? So one of the things in the rooms, they tell you to identify as an addict, and I would tell anybody coming out of treatment, don't no longer identify as an addict. Don't do it, right? And I even had a mentor that I look up to, and he said, He said, man, there's a difference between telling the truth and divulging information that is not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's in the recovery world that is a it's vital, right? Because in the rooms I can be an addict and we can talk about it, the addiction, but um, if I walk into a job interview and say I'm an addict, or if I go before a judge and I'm an addict, or you know what I'm saying, in these crucial points in life where uh, first impressions are everything, identifying an addict is not going to be your most beneficial, point. And so it's
No, but
hard to get.
that goes back to like just the regular Joe Schmo that I keep calling them non-player characters.
Yes, and they are. They absolutely
They
are.
just want to be.
Yeah,
I'm just better than you, Sean, because I'm not.
yeah,
And then I run into people who say I've never been an addict. I would say you're absolutely a liar
right.
because it may not be drugs, it may not be alcohol, sex. You're addicted to something.
Yep.
You're addicted to a bad behavior. You're addicted to a bad attitude, or you're addicted to something that prohibits you from functioning as anything but a non-player character.
Well, and people ask me too, why don't I talk about my sober time, right?
Yeah,
And
that's one of the questions.
because I get it hammered on me just about every time I speak somewhere. They're like, "Bro, why don't you talk about your sober time?" For one, that's for me to know, right? Because and this is something I have learned through my own little social experience. It's not about what I tell people that's damaging. It's about what those people do with the information given.
well, and I think there's a time and a place to celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
Um, there is a time when that's a win.
Yeah.
But if you're not daily stacking wins, that's the only win you're leaning on.
Yeah.
You're not bringing anything else to the table. You're not giving back and serving. And then there are people I know that hit 700, 800 days, years, 5 or 6
Yeah.
years. They celebrate that big milestone of 15, celebrate that milestone of 20. But in between that 15 and 20, they're working their butts off to get as many people to 5 as they
Yeah,
can,
it
as many people to
is.
10 as they
It's crazy.
can. And
Yeah.
I think that date of sobriety should be celebrated, but it's that day. That
Yeah.
shouldn't be your identity, become your identity
Yeah.
throughout what you're doing.
And it, I do enjoy my sobriety. You know what I'm saying? And I do keep track of it, but it's not something I put into the universe. You know what I mean? Because especially in my field of work, you know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say it's because your friends that kick your butt.
Well,
I'm
you
just
know what I'm
saying.
saying? It's just not something I put out there. It's not necessary. And I'm just one of those people. Like I look at the world and I say, what do people do with the truth? Why do people lie? You know what I'm saying?
Multitude of reasons.
You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it's because in our, I don't know if it's embedded in our culture, if it's just mankind or what, but like we burn people with the truth. It's like in the DNA. I don't get it. Why people can't just honor the truth, right? We say, oh, thank you for telling us truth.
Oh,
Here's your coals.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think people understand what the word honor really means.
You know?
Our words matter,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, people don't. They don't bring honorable intentions to the words they use
Right.
sometimes, especially when they talk about somebody.
Yeah.
I frequently throw around the term crackhead,
Yeah.
and
I think everybody does.
I see the way that you sometimes roll your eyes, but it's also the context in which I use it. Right?
I mean, it doesn't.
I don't go calling somebody on the street that. I use that when we're talking and having discussions because it's relevant to the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm not necessarily labeling that person. Definitely, I'm labeling you. I'm doing making an assigned judgment based on current actions and things that I've witnessed first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I prefer the term dumbass because everybody's.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, right?
I mean, I you have
I'm a,
people who drink alcohol are alcoholics, right? This is something in the streets I even noticed myself, right? So people who drink alcohol are alcoholics. People who do crack or crackheads, people who do meth or dope fiends, you know what I'm saying? People who uh, do heroin, smackhead or junkies, you know, like everybody has their own terminologies, but even drug addicts come from an extreme place of judgment.
Oh yeah.
So me as a heroin addict, bro, like it was crazy because you know what I'm saying? I'd have meth heads come up to me all the time and be like, dude, that stuff's gonna kill you, baby. I ain't never touching that stuff in my life. And they would bag on me, right? Because they're like, you're gonna OD and die. And I'm like, well, at least if I kill myself, it's one thing. But like, you're a meth head, bro. So like, you're gonna drag yours out for 20 years and drag everyone down with you. So what's worse? I don't.
Oh man,
Those conversations that we used to have in the street used to be absolutely horrible. But it's just like
dude, it's like the car
it's
guy
that need
argument.
to feel I'm better than you,
Yeah,
right?
it's the car guy argument.
Yeah,
One guy is driving a freaking cherry '69 Camaro, another guy's driving a '62 Bel Air,
yeah,
and both of them have small blocks, and it all comes down to who's the better driver.
right. Yo,
Drugs and addiction is the same. The addiction itself, the drug of choice may change, addictive behaviors,
oh yeah, bro.
and
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're sober for 10 years. My friends one of my friends specifically was a meth addict.
Yeah,
Gave it up cold turkey. Pregnant. Never touched
and some people can do that.
15, 20 years sober. 20 years sober.
That's awesome, man. And
She'll
some people
tell
can do
you
that.
that is the one thing always I could go back into that life.
Oh yeah,
It changes you.
it does. It does. And it's crazy because even when I like see people like getting medicine, like my wife was at the hospital a few weeks ago, and she was getting her blood drawn. And bro, man, my veins in my arm started hurting so bad. Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, oh my God. And it gave me chills, like the sight of looking at needles, my veins swell up. It's like, it's a whole thing, man. And it never really fully goes away, I don't think. I think even people who kind of say they don't get the compulsion to use or a little exaggerated on that. It may not be like an
Come
overwhelming
on,
urge,
man.
but
Like
there's always the thought. You know what I'm saying?
how many drug addicts you know that are smokers?
Yeah, tons.
And that continues on after treatment for the
It
addiction for
just
the
turns
drug.
into something else. Just turns into something.
It's kind of like fidgets for little kids.
Yeah.
You get them to fidget on something else. We soothe a lot of children today with iPads. What does that do? Creates an addiction.
Bro, I think one of the things I hate the worst is the ticks that remain afterwards. Like
Oh yeah.
sometimes even during my podcast, I'll watch my show and I'm like, oh my God, dude, my jaw just going crazy. Sometimes when I guess, feel like my anxiety's up and I'm grinding my teeth. I hate
Well,
that.
I laugh at your foot movement
Oh, the feet
because I
stay
have to
going.
wave at you to like not wave your feet because you vibrate the cameras.
So that's actually not an addiction thing.
No. That
So
is a tick.
that came from my crane accident, and I have constant pain in my feet, and I'm starting to realize that. So I guess I kind of numbed that sensation out of me through just years and years of dealing with it. It's just kind of in the back of my mind. Man, the other night I was laying in bed and I was like, God, my feet hurt so
Yeah.
bad. And I'm like, maybe that's why I can't sleep at night because
Yeah.
my feet just hurt.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, you're talking about physical.
Yeah,
Like it's like this
crushed.
hand. Like people can see in the camera. I broke this hand, right? Like I can't ever not know that I broke that hand.
Well,
Hurts.
so like my leg was a little different. Imagine your hand
Yeah, I know,
and then
but you
getting turned
you
around.
right, I'm talking two bones. You had
Yeah,
like your whole leg and
it
little
was
ankle
twisted,
crushed.
twisted
Like
all the way
it
around.
so again is it's we can understand and sympathize with each other on
Yeah,
certain aspects of physical and mental, emotional,
right.
but everybody's addiction to drugs, alcohol, sex, it's all different
Yeah,
because it's unique to each.
it is. It is.
And that's one thing I think is lacking post treatment world is the non-player characters don't get it. There are some people that just they're addicted to the little things in their daily life that they do, but that's all they do.
I don't think non-player characters um can get it, to be honest with you, unless they have come to terms with their own acceptance issues, right? So, me and my dad could not come to terms for 20 years until he came to terms with the way he was living was a little flawed, right? Um, and I think if people can generally come to that conclusion, like, even though I have the nice house, I have the nice car, my bills are paid, I got food in the fridge, everything's great in my life, right? Am I still a crappy person? I think typically people wouldn't even ask themselves that question in that time. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean? Because
think
everything's going good.
well, and that goes back to how people treat each other. Just having a conversation. How many times have you seen it? You and I've had this conversation before. How many times have you seen it where third party will come in the studio? We'll be having a conversation. They'll interject. They interject from a place of intellectual dishonesty because they're not being honest with themselves about what they truly feel or believe,
No,
or they just don't know what they don't.
I think people just don't know what they don't.
And so I think we have a different perspective.
Yeah,
Yours is completely different than mine, but
yeah,
we understand not everybody understands the same way.
yeah.
You and I understand our own personal limits, our own emotional limits, our own spiritual limits, and our physical limits.
Right.
Like you and I are gonna start working out, and
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna be having you do 200-pound squats because you got a bad ankle.
yeah,
But somebody else is gonna come in here who doesn't know
yeah,
your history, right? And they're gonna say, "Well, you should be able to do that." I don't care that you had an ankle injury. They don't know the extent. To just make a blanket statement like
yeah.
that is just ignorant. So I see that as the biggest issue right
I think it's ignorance and again acceptance, right?
now.
And I would like to say this just for family members who are going through it with a child, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever, right? Um, before you try to what do you call it? Do an intervention, right? Do a little bit of an intervention on yourself first, right? Because a lot of addiction is a social disease that stems from how we treat each other and how we treat ourselves. So if there's a negative connotation between, say, a parent and a child, that's a two-way connection. So there's a disconnect on both sides, and it's very important that both sides see that. So you have to really look at your life and say, am I genuinely a good person? Was I doing right thing? You know what I'm saying? And you have to take yourself to that same place of acceptance. Maybe I'm flawed. Maybe the where I was going wasn't the right way to do it. Maybe I need to apologize. You know what I'm saying? Like, the, I think that's very important when it comes to working with people in addiction. Because if you just come from a place of judgment, they're just going to call you a hypocrite.
Do you think it would be a benefit to people that the non-player characters? We took your program, we handed it out to 150 churchmen, 50 churchwomen. How do you think they're and I'm using church as an example. Churches, church people that seem to have the most time dealing with addicts,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with good and evil.
Right.
They think they understand. They have a biblical knowledge, but or a head knowledge of what life really is like. But do you think if we took that program and gave it to 50 men and 50 women, think that those 50 men and women moved enough, like the 12-step programs helped, AA's helped?
Mm-hmm.
You think that would change their mindset alone and
Absolutely.
how they interacted with people in it?
Absolutely. The way I've tailored this program, it is for everyone, literally everyone. Right. It's I target people in addiction recovery, right? And I say target. The focus is on people in addiction
Sure.
recovery because those are the people who are willing to sit down in a chair and say, I'm wrong. Help me. Right? Whereas People who aren't are not going to sit in a chair typically and go, "Help me."
Or
you
they're
know,
not going to sit down across from you and go, "How can I help you?"
right? You know what I'm saying?
They
So
want to. I think that's the problem. Is there's a lot of people that are well intentioned, they just don't know how to do it.
yeah.
So the roadmap needs to be laid out for the addict and for the person that wants to help an addict.
So the program I wrote is a life recovery program. It focuses on people who are in addiction, but it is a life recovery program for all. Right? It can be beneficial to every person, man, woman, or child, no matter what kind of culture you're from. Like it's just tailored to life recovery. Um, it's tailored in a way to get people thinking more compassionately, more lovingly, with grace, forgiveness, a lot of understanding. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's going to be extremely beneficial once it gets in the public eye. And yes, anyone, and everyone could benefit from this program. Um, you just have to have that open mindedness. Look at your life and say, maybe what can I change? What can I do different? How can I be a better human being in general? And take the time to sit down and be teachable in that. And that's the other part. You know, people who have an extreme amount of success are very less likely to just sit down taught something. I've kind of noticed that as I work my way through this. Uh, people who are accomplished and have achievements are a lot harder to get in a classroom, and just sit down and be teachable. Be willing to learn something and act like,
Well, I think you're in active addiction, you're in active recovery,
yeah,
or you've never,
yeah,
in general, you have to be
absolutely, all the
very.
time.
There's a lot of philosophers have written about that throughout history. That's one thing I like about your program is you include some of those philosophical moments
Hmm?
because that's where a non-active person is going to hopefully come to see, hey, I can be teachable.
Yeah,
And I think it's the way they approach it.
absolutely,
So if we approach each other in love,
correct.
then we are teachable.
And
If we come with preconceived notions, and yeah, I had preconceived notions when I met you, but
yeah,
I set them aside to give you the opportunity to tell me about yourself. Like that's important.
right,
I actively listen. Sometimes I don't actively listen. Yeah, obviously you
yeah.
see me do that, but um,
No, it's all good.
actively listening to one. I'm not. I don't
Yeah,
listen to you to respond. I do in an
right.
interview situation, but a lot of times when we're having a deep philosophical or religious or a tense conversation between the two of us, I know a lot of my responses come off as personal,
Yeah,
but they're not. Like, I'm passionate about it, just as passionate as you, and I wish more people were.
I
I
do
think
too.
through your program, we'll see. We're going to see people become passionate.
It- it- Denzel Washington, man.
That dude is a
And
stud,
now
man.
check it out. I don't know if he made this up or if he just bit off of somebody else, but he said something and it really resonated with me. And he said, if you want to change your life, change the world you live in, right? And I practice that with this unconditional love model with this program. And let me tell you something. I came from a very violent background, of course, of addiction, homelessness, gang violence, all kinds of, horrible things that I experienced through my life. And I practice that unconditional model every single day, right? And I'm not saying there's days I don't get frustrated or irritated or my anxiety is a little high and I'm flustered, right? But I have no anger in me. Like, I'm not an angry person at all. And my life has truly changed, right? I go to recovery meetings and I go to recovery centers and I talk to people out of love and compassion and understanding, even if I don't like the person, even if I don't agree with the person. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sit down and listen to anyone's story and try to understand where they're coming from, who they are, and simply sit there and go, how can I help you do whatever it is you're trying to do in life?
Well, and I think I don't remember which philosopher it was, but ultimately, it's changing your habits.
Yeah,
So anger is a habit.
it
A lot of
is.
people,
It is.
resentment, and a lot of that can be changed. changing the habit to be grateful,
Right.
a habit of gratitude. So I'm gonna end it with this because we've talked about this before. What's your most what are one or two things you're most grateful for? Early recovery.
I'm most grateful for.
I think you touched on it on set of those.
Absolutely.
That's probably I've heard you repetitively say that, so I'm gonna lead you to that answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy for me to show gratitude, right? Coming from where I come from, I didn't feel like I deserved it, and I thought I was gonna die. And when those people started stepping into my life, it really made a change in me, changed my heart, you know. But just to, really the pivotal moment was when my wife stepped in, and she did some things that no one's ever done for me.
And that's post treatment.
Just post treatment.
So you have in early recovery and treatment, it was the people that took care of you.
Yeah, it was the people that took care of me, and the grace, right, to not keep me so much to the curriculum of their program. But like I said, my mentor, the LCDC there, he kind of let me cultivate my own way.
He let you build new habits.
He did. He let me build it in my own way. But and I'll be real, it didn't happen that way for everybody.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like he allowed me to do things because I would do things for them. Right? So I would help out the facility. I would help out the people in the facility. Like I led their life skills group for a while, and I did all their events and things like that. So he gave me some grace to practice and live independently, where a lot of people were more funneled into a structure type living. And I'm very grateful he did that because it gave me a chance to really cultivate a very broad understanding of what I was going through.
Post treatment and Sammy.
Post treatment was baby, man.
And isn't she the most awesome thing?
Man, my wife is
I
amazing.
mean, next to my wife,
in every way.
she is a pretty darn good lady.
You know,
I'm saying.
she takes care of me, and I really have to give my wife a lot of props because with my background, it's very hard for me to find a job, right? I mean, what, a year now I've been trying to find a job, and it's the same thing every time. And to have someone stay beside me through all that, knowing that what I'm saying, it's not going to be such a easy road, and that it has given me the space to create a business and write a program and write a book and be of maximum service to my community as much as I possibly can, and to create that supportive environment so I can do that has been huge for me in my recovery, and it's been a blessing to Amarillo. You know what I'm saying? People don't understand, like, that the efforts of one person can go a really long way.
Well, it only takes one person.
It
Change
trickles.
you by showing you conditional love.
It is, man, and it makes you want to just pour it back out into other people tremendously. And so that's what I try to do, man. I give back as much as I can, when I can, however I can. We got some things going on in the Amarillo area that I feel passionate about being a part of and helping in this community. And the more I dive into it, the more it strengthens. And my self-worth is steadily going up, And
Well, it's because you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Doing the work on yourself,
doing
the work for other people. And that's what Sammy shows you.
Yeah.
He's doing the work necessary to give you that flexibility.
Right.
And that's a great example for everybody.
Yeah.
So Shawn, I appreciate your time today.
All right, brother.
Look forward to
Thank you. Y'all stay in touch for the next Q&A. We're going to be doing a whole season 2 on Better Days Reign. It's going to be Q&A. We're going to talk about, we did life and addiction. We did rock bottom. Now we're going to talk about treatment. We're just going to kind of go through all the phases. We're going to cover a lot of the concepts in a very broad perspective, give it some different viewpoints, different angles, to really try to help those who are suffering and those who, family members, community leaders, everybody get a very broad understanding of how we can best combat addiction in our community. And
don't forget to support
And don't
Support
forget
this effort by buying merchandise from
Better Days Rain.
Better Days Rain.
At our Prettify store. You can find it on our Facebook page, Instagram. I think it's on YouTube now.
Should be on the website too.
It is on the website, betterdaysrain.com. We also provide one-on-one coaching, and we can do group coaching as well. Get in touch with us. We can talk about that. And yeah, we love to hear from you. Love to get you on the show. If anybody's interested in getting on the show, get with me, and we'd be happy to have you. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great day.